Why don't men get alimony? Because it's my personal belief that the laws are neutral. They're gender neutral, but men do not get treated fairly when it comes to alimony in the court system. Judges are biased against them. Judges are biased against them. They are, and I'm sorry to say it, but that's the truth.
Yo, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Coffee Pod. My name is Shisha Zed.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
Marriage is a very sensitive topic in our day, right? And for good reason, man. I think regardless of what your opinion may be about marriage, it's undeniable that more men today are uneasy when it comes to deciding whether they're going to get married or not, or whether they see value in marriage in today's modern day. Now, one of the main reasons for this is a lot of men are becoming more informed about the dangers of getting married in today's age, right? And a lot of this information doesn't come from the lawyers and people who work in court. It comes from men who have failed for marriages or crazy YouTubers like myself who are informing men on why the court systems, family court, are usually unfair when it comes to men. But in this video, I'm going to be reacting to some expert attorneys who are warning men to avoid some of the biggest mistakes that men make when it comes to marriage. And guys, this video is brought to you by me. Check out my course and learn how to win with women and dating online. Click the link pinned at the top of the comment. Without any further delay.
No fault divorce. In the old days, you used to have to say bad behavior, adultery, abandonment, mental and physical cruelty. Now, all you have to do is say irreconcilable differences, that nothing can put your marriage back together again, and you get a divorce. The most important thing to protect yourself financially is having a lawyer in your state, an experienced family lawyer, to help you through the process. Women feel that they're entitled to alimony and men feel that they're not. In the last 40 years, I have had 4 cases that I remember of men getting alimony that I had to twist their arms and beat them up in order to get alimony.
Now that's nuts.
Should men seek alimony? More of them should.
Did you know that when you get married, everybody has a prenup? Yep, the prenup is the state law that you live in. Every state has rights and obligations associated with marriage. So if you get married without drawing up your own terms and conditions,
listen up,
by
man.
default submitting to your state's prenup.
I represented a husband. He worked since he's 16 years old, saving money. And he bought a house prior to getting married. He bought it the week prior to getting married. Within 3 years, that house that he had put his entire life savings into was jointly titled. He was so upset that he lost half of that house, half of his life savings. You need to seek out a real estate lawyer. You have to remember that when you put the other spouse's name on the title, it gives them ownership and they own half of the house and half of the equity. If you own a house and you're getting married, listen to this because it could save you a fortune. Do not put your spouse's name on the title. Even if you're getting a mortgage and the mortgage company seems to tell you that you have to put your wife on the title, you don't. Do not put your wife on the title, even if she has to sign the mortgage.
She's giving you that free game.
Name on it, your spouse is going to own half the house. If you inherit money during your marriage, it is your own separate account. Make sure that any savings account, checking account, brokerage account is only in your name. Do not add your spouse's name to the title, ever, by putting your marital assets, your marital income into your inheritance. You're going to lose half of your inheritance. If I'm talking to you and you're getting married, you need to make sure that your old bank account that had $50,000 in it stays with the $50,000, and that when you get married, you open up a new account, a new bank account, a new savings account, a new checking account. You need to separate the money that you earn during the marriage from the money you had prior to the marriage. And do not put any monies that you are earning during the marriage into your prior premarital accounts. That money that you are putting in there loses its separate identity. Now it's marital, and your spouse is entitled to half of it. Your inheritance should be kept in a separate account. Do not add any marital earnings during the marriage to that account. You can invest it, you can do whatever you want with it, but do not add it to a joint account. Do not put anybody else's name on it. Make sure you keep it in your own account, and then it will stay your separate property.
Free game. Free game. Let's get it. Let's go. Let's get it.
I am astounded that Bill Gates did not get a prenup. He did not get a prenup. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the money he had then and the money they have now? And he never got a prenup. If Bill and Melinda Gates hadn't settled and they went to court, the stock market could have been affected. Many companies could have failed. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people could be jobless.
That's crazy.
It would have affected an enormous financial community.
All over a marriage.
Especially if they thought that a judge was going to be deciding everything and a judge wasn't going to be weighing how to make sure that all of the companies that they are promoting, all of the foundations and all of their good works that they are doing don't go under. I had a client who came to me after he had already settled his divorce. He gave his wife the retirement. He gave his wife the house. He gave his wife more of the brokerage accounts.
Damn.
And what happened? He never got back financially on his feet.
Sheesh.
So he ended up at the end of his life not being able to afford to live himself, and his wife was in a wonderful financial position. You do not want to do that. Base it on now and make sure that you don't give away the pot.
She hit a
What's
lick.
his and what's hers in marriage? If you bought a car prior to the marriage and you paid it off, that stays your separate property. When you buy a car during the marriage, you are buying it with marital income, and therefore it is marital. Everything that is purchased during the marriage with marital income is marital and gets divided in half. Why don't men get alimony? Because it's my personal belief that the laws are neutral. They're gender neutral, but men do not get treated fairly when it comes to alimony in the court system.
Shout
Judges
out.
are biased against them.
Shout out to
They
Denise
are,
for
and
keeping it
I'm sorry
real.
to say it, but that's the truth. In the last 40 years, I have had 4 cases that I remember of men getting alimony that I had to twist their arms in order to get alimony.
40 years.
If you're a parent and thinking about moving out of the house, you need to hear this. If you are going to be leaving the marital house when you have children, that you do not leave until you have a time-sharing schedule in place so that you'll be able to see the children 50% of the time. That is very important before you leave. Let's talk about who pays child support. The person earning more money pays child support. There are 2 things that go into child support. One is how much you're earning, who's earning more, and the second one is how many nights, how many overnights the children spend with each parent. Put those together, there's a formula, and then that is how child support is calculated.
I debated posting this because I know how bad it's going to be when people get this answer from me.
Keep it real.
But there were so many people that asked that I decided, after a lot of thought and consideration, that I will go ahead and respond to the most asked question from my last video, which is, what professions in women should men avoid? And a lot of you thought that those same professions for men that I told you to avoid would translate to women, and they really don't. I don't think that there's enough data out there for me to comment on that. But I've had one military female client who was pretty difficult, but other than that, I've not seen any correlation in those same professions. But I went through my case list, And if you have a problem with me giving an introduction to this, then just scroll along, because I'm about to hurt a lot of people. So I'm going to explain.
They're not going to like this coffee.
And you're going to have to listen to it if you want the answer.
Keep it real.
I went through my case list, and there's about 60 cases on my case list. And there are some common professions that I see in women. The most common one that I see is teacher. The second most common is nurse. But those cases are not cases where the female is really difficult or litigious or anything like that. They're just kind of run-of-the-mill cases. The most common profession that I see in the female parties in my divorces, and this is over 13 years of cases. Oh my God, I'm so nervous.
Say it.
Is stay-at-home mom. Hate me. I know y'all are going to hate me, but let me explain why. Number one, when you're divorcing a stay-at-home mom, they are paralyzed with fear, and rightfully so, because their whole life is going to change. They are going to have to go back to the workforce. They're going to have to possibly move. Their finances are about to be very different. There's lots of things that they don't know financially about what's going on. And so they tend to stick their head in the sand and stall. And so the cases become very contested and very expensive. The second reason that I see that stay-at-home moms end up being the most common profession in a divorce is that I think there's a tendency, and this is completely my opinion, just based on my observations, they tend to focus so much on the children, and the husband focuses so much on career that first of all, they don't feel appreciated by one another. But the husband starts feeling like an ATM, and the wife becomes completely focused on the children. And
Sounds about right.
To grow apart. So I think that's why it's the most common. That's not hate, just an observation. It's probably my last TikTok. So see ya.
That's because they're going to cancel it for telling the truth.
My last videos have sparked some interesting discussion about different types of marriage dynamics and what works and what doesn't. And so one of the more common ones that was asked about was a situation where a woman earns more money than the man and what that situation looks like. So I'm going to tell you 3 reasons why I think that marriages where women earn more than men or where men don't work. Number 1 is, as I mentioned in my last video, men need to feel valued. And I think that when women earn more than men, it has a tendency to emasculate men. I think that they are ingrained within the society to think, I have to earn, I have to provide, right? Men are hunters and gatherers and they're supposed to provide. And I think that it kind of upsets the natural balance for the woman to be carrying that weight, because sorry to say this, but a lot of women who work also carry a lot of weight in the home. So I think that adds to it. So even regardless of whether or not you have kids, I think a woman carrying more of the financial weight not only tends to emasculate the man, but also can cause more resentment to build in a woman that would build in a man in the reverse situation where the man is the higher income earner. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that the men in these situations that are married to high-powered women, a lot of times, in the ones that I've seen fail, the men tend to be very, for lack of a better word, not motivated. They tend to be, they might be educated, but they don't tend to work very hard. They don't really seem to have a passion for anything. They tend to be lazy, and they tend to kind of rely on the woman to run the household. I mean, she does the bills, she does the finances, she takes care of the kids if there are any.
More proof that women don't respect
the CEO of the household.
Men
they just
who they
don't seem to
out-earn.
really contribute much. It's the opposite of a traditional stay-at-home mom dynamic where the mom is running the household and the husband is working every day and paying for the expenses. The woman in that situation tends to do it all. And so I just think that over time it just weighs on her and she's just like, I'm out of here. Or the man will cheat, as in my last video. And then finally, what's really interesting about these divorces is they tend to be the cheapest. Women who are the breadwinners, they're protecting their money. I mean, men do too, but not like the women do. And they tend to really push their husbands behind the scenes to settle. They tend to have to pay the entire bill, and they don't want to pay that bill. So they keep the process really streamlined and quiet. So
the number one cause of divorces, movies like this. I love this movie. I also love Ryan Gosling. But stuff like this sets unrealistic expectations of marriage. And when the honeymoon phase is over, they end up in my office. We call movies like this inventory stalkers for divorce attorneys.
And who falls for those movies? Women.
If you want to know why men don't want to get married a second time after divorce, it's because they lose in divorce. A lot of men lose their children altogether when they are fit fathers, or they end up with 30% custody while the woman gets 70%, and they also end up paying a huge amount of money in child support. Add to that, because the woman won the children, she's also getting a large percentage of their assets, much more than a 50-50 share, where she's getting to walk away with the family house, all the furniture, everything inside. And after he pays that child support every month, he's strapped with alimony for the next 5 years. And he looks at his life moving forward and is struggling to pay rent and to buy a new house and to be able to have a nice place for his kids. Why would he take that risk again?
Okay, there you have it. So a lot of you probably watched that video and you thought to yourself, okay, I got it. Don't get married, right? That's where you're at. And I don't blame you. I don't blame any men today who don't see value in marriage, because honestly, if you look at the logic in 70% of women initiating divorce, right? Men getting the bad end of the stick the majority of the times when it comes to marriage, the logical thing to do would be to not get married, right? So there's that first set of guys who are just not going to do it, and understandably so. And for guys like me, I've said in multiple videos that I will probably get married. Right. I don't know if it's maybe because I grew up in a 2-parent family home. But for guys like me, you know, I think it's important to, first of all, educate yourself. And second of all, understand that you have to take some type of provision to protect yourself if you still plan on getting married. Now, that could be anything, right? Like, I'm from Africa, man. So I have no problem going under a tree and hiring some pastor to bless us and call it a marriage, because at the end of the day, I don't believe a piece of paper determines whether I'm married or not, right? Or you might want to go the route of getting an ironclad prenup. We see that helps and has helped a lot of successful people who are protecting assets, etc. Nevertheless, what you can't deny is it's never been more dangerous for a man to decide to get married than today, right? So you're not crazy if you're a man who decides not to get married. You're crazy if you're a guy who decides to take that step. Now, you're especially crazy, not crazy, you're stupid if you're a guy who decides to take that step and not protect yourself, right? In some shape or form. Now, are you guaranteed that you're foolproof? I don't think anything in life is guaranteed, right? And this video wasn't made to shift you in any which way. This video was made to educate and maybe strengthen your decisions and your beliefs, no matter what that may be. But you're a man at the end of the day. Don't let anybody influence you into making a decision when it comes to this, especially a woman that you love, right? Don't let love, blindly loving any woman, put you in the circumstance where now you're getting divorced because you chose to make a decision because you were pressured. She gave you an ultimatum. Don't let family members, don't let people around you pressure you into a situation that you're not ready for. That's the first thing, right? Make a decision that's based in your own choice, right? You decided to do this. And also protect yourself, man. Protect yourself. Overall, the last thing I would encourage you is to remember that female nature never fails, right? You are loved conditionally. Yes, I'm going to take it there. Stop buying into this idea that a woman is just going to love you no matter what. Be prepared and understand that this is the reality of marriage, and learn game, right? Learn the RP, expound on your knowledge, watch more content, and then apply it. Think differently. You can't go into today's dating world, marriages, with old set of rules and ways of thinking, because things have changed, man. These women today are off the chain. Most of these women belong to the earth, They belong to everybody. Because that's the whole problem, is that you have all these rules and court systems that are still operating with old day principles in a modern day. They have not changed, right? There's no reason any man today should be paying alimony to a woman who can work for the rest of her life. Anyways, guys, that's my piece. I'm curious to know what you guys think of the content. Comment down below. As always, I appreciate you for checking out this episode of The Coffee Pod. Don't forget to hit that like and don't forget to subscribe. Till next time, man, I'm out. Peace.